In this tutorial, I'll show you how to master n8n and walk you through the whole process step by step. We'll get started by breaking down n8n's best feature, AI agents, and how they compare to old-fashioned chatbots. From there, we'll go through the onboarding process, from creating an account and hosting your workflows, to understanding n8n's interface and a few basic workflow templates. After that, we'll build 4 workflows from scratch so you can see how it's done, before wrapping up the video with a quick chat about debugging and a few final tips and tricks. By the end of this video, you'll be able to create your own AI-enhanced automations. Let's get started. AI agents versus chatbots. Before we start automating, let's answer 2 questions. What is an AI agent, and how does it differ from a regular chatbot? To answer that, let's quickly talk about something we've all interacted with before: a regular chatbot. Chatbots, whether we're talking about a simple one on a business's website or more advanced one like ChatGPT, are great, but they have a major limitation. They're only good at the basics. Sure, if you need to ask a simple question, then it'll probably be fine. But if you try to ask even a slightly more complicated question or reference an outside program, it'll have no idea what to do. Enter AI agents. Rather than simply answering basic questions, AI agents can understand complex questions, place them in a broader context, and proactively interact with external programs to solve the problem. Put another way, AI agents can plan and act with minimal human involvement once they're told what to do and have access to the proper external programs. They can handle everything from start to finish. Agents also remember all their conversations and actively learn from them, so they'll get better over time. The more it handles a task, the less human involvement will be required. For example, if you set up the right workflow, an AI agents can notice, oh, it's the 5th of the month. I should check for any invoices due and send reminders. I should also schedule the roundtable for early next week. In short, chatbots can only answer basic questions and only act if you tell them to. AI agents can perform complex, multi-step processes independently. Now that we know what AI agents can do, let's set up n8n. Before we can start building, however, we need to talk about hosting. In the next section, we'll explore both cloud and self-hosting options to see which is right for you. Sign up and hosting. You can either go with n8n's cloud hosting service or host your workflow on your own server. Let's start with the cloud. Using n8n Cloud's hosting service is the fastest way to start. Head on over to n8n's website and click Get Started for free. Quickly fill out the form, verify you're a human, then click Start Free 14-day trial. Don't worry, you don't need to give n8n your credit card info to enjoy the trial. After that, n8n will ask you to answer 5 questions to personalize your experience. You'll also have the option to add more team members to your workspace. I'm going to skip this step for now, but if you ever decide to purchase a subscription, there are no limits on the number of team members you can add. That's all you need to do to get started with n8n's cloud hosting. Everything is taken care of for you. Within minutes, you'll be able to start building workflows. But if you want to keep all your data in-house and are not afraid to get your hands dirty, you can always choose to self-host n8n. For those of you who are not interested in self-hosting, you can go to the following timestamp to skip ahead. If you do decide self-hosting is right for you, then I have good news. n8n's Community Edition is completely free. For this tutorial, I'll focus on 2 popular self-hosting methods: a virtual private server, VPS, and Docker. VPS one-click install. Many providers offer a pre-configured n8n image. For example, Hostinger has a template that can be deployed in one click. Sign up for a Hostinger VPS, choose the n8n template, and it will set up an Ubuntu server with n8n all ready to go. It'll take a few minutes to boot, then all you have to do is go to the provider URL, and you will see the n8n setup screen where you can log in. That's it. n8n is up and running on your new Hostinger server. The best part? n8n is affordable, but Hostinger is cheap. By clicking the link in the description, you'll be able to get a fast private server for less than $20 a month. Now, you're not done though. Once n8n is running, you need to configure a few security settings. Rather than walk you through this step by step, I'll include a link in the description to an official Hostinger guide. Alright, next up is Docker. Docker, official image. If you're comfy with Docker, running n8n is a breeze. n8n provides an official Docker image that includes everything. The simplest way to run it is with a single command. Rather than walk you through the whole process, I'll include another link down below to an official guide. This one by n8n. That will give you that command, as well as a bunch of other tips and tricks for getting started. In short, self-hosting gives you full control of your server, workflows, and data, but the responsibilities, server maintenance, security control, and updates are yours to handle. Pro tip: if you do decide to self-host, don't forget about resource management. n8n is pretty lightweight at first, but as your workflows or datasets grow, it can get pretty demanding, meaning you'll want to allocate more memory and consider using an external database. At the end of the day, choose what option is right for you. For this tutorial, it doesn't matter which you choose. The n8n interface and features are the same. That said, I'll be using n8n Cloud for this video to keep things simple. Now that we have n8n up and running, let's get familiar with the interface and learn about workflow templates, which will save us a ton of time. Interface and templates. If you've been following along, go ahead and click Start Automating. That will open the editor UI. The blank space is called the canvas. This is where you build and manage your automated workflows. Let's do a quick tour so you know where things are. On the right sidebar, first up is the Nodes panel. n8n calls third-party integrations nodes. Open it. There's a search bar where you can type to find any node or browse by category. Let's click on the blank space here to close that panel. Next up is sticky notes. This is something we won't be using today, but it is a great place to leave yourself a little note explaining what a section of a workflow is supposed to do. Once you start building more advanced workflows, it's helpful to be organized. Focus panel. This shows you what your integrations, nodes, do and how they fit into the larger workflow. Lastly, there's also n8n AI. This is essentially an in-app helper designed to answer any questions you have. Close these two tabs by clicking on their icon on the right side. Let's move over to the left sidebar. First up is the plus icon. Click it. This lets you create a new workflow or a credential. What is a credential, I hear you ask? Well, when you use nodes that connect to external services like Gmail or Google Docs, you'll need to give n8n permission to access that app. This is where you'll grant these permissions. Using n8n cloud hosting makes this easier because for many services, you just need to click connect. If you're self-hosting, you'll need to find your API key and grant permission that way. Either way, you only need to grant an app permission once. Next is the home icon called Overview. Here's where you can quickly view all your workflows, credentials, executions, and data tables. In other words, this is where you can view everything related to your n8n accounts in one place. We'll talk more about this tab toward the end of the video. Important note, by default, this tab is only visible to the account owner. If you plan to work with your team, you'll need to grant them permission individually or create roles with specific permissions. We'll see how to do this shortly. Moving on, we've got Personal. This is like the Overview tab, only this is visible to all your team members. Here's where they'll see everything they've built, manage permissions, and view data. The next button, another plus icon, lets you create a new project. Projects are nothing more than containers for grouping workflows and credentials. On the free trial, you're limited to one project only, but that's more than enough to get started. Moving down to the bottom, we've got the admin panel. Click it. This is where you'll manage your subscription and workspace details, including version and time zone. This is also where you can download backups of your workflows before you start tinkering with something important. Alright, click the back arrow in your browser tab to head back to the editor UI. Next is Templates, where you can choose from over 6,000 workflows created by the community. We'll come back here shortly. Next are Variables. We won't be using these today, but variables are how you track and store data across multiple workflows. For example, if you build a workflow to collect and process forms, and another to schedule a meeting based on data collected from those forms, you'll need a variable to link in the workflows together. Moving on, we have Insights. This is where you can view all the metrics associated with your workflows. In other words, if a workflow suddenly breaks, you'll be able to notice without digging into each one individually. Help is next, and this is where you can find support articles or access n8n's forum. Honestly, if you get stuck, just use the AI agents we saw earlier. It'll sort all of this for you. The Notifications tab is next, where you can view n8n updates and ensure you're using the latest version. Last but not least, you'll see an icon with your initials. Click it and select Settings. While most of the features here are locked behind the Enterprise plan, this is where you'll add new team members by clicking Users. Alright, click Settings in the upper left to return to the main interface. It's finally time. Click on Templates. As I said, there are over 6,000 templates, and clicking View All Templates takes you to a new page where you can browse them all. Each template has a dedicated page where you can view detailed information about it, who it is for, what it does, how it works, and instructions for modifying it to your heart's contents. How to use a template. Let's say I want to use the Summarize YouTube videos from transcript workflow. All I need to do is click on that template and click Use for free. At this point, we can either import the template into the workspace or download it as a JSON file. Keep it simple. Click Import Template to Velocity of Cloud Workspace. Once that's done, the template will appear on your canvas, and you can configure it however you like. Don't forget to set up your credentials. Although we will build our workflows by hand in this tutorial, templates are a massive time saver. Once you have a handle on the basics, remember, always check the template gallery before starting a new project. Alright, enough theory. Let's go hands-on and make our first workflow. We'll start with something simple but practical, taking form data and automating an email response, sprinkling a bit of conditional logic in for good measure. Workflow 1. Form, Sheets, Email. Remember, if you want to follow along with me, you can create a free account and access a 14-day free trial. Using the link in the description will also get you a great deal on your n8n subscription. Alright, click Start from Scratch. The first thing we need is a trigger node that fires when a form is submitted. I'll call this the Form Submission Trigger. I'll click the plus icon in the center of the screen and select On Form Submission. We'll have to configure our form settings next. Don't worry about the URLs right now. The default will work just fine. Since this form is a newsletter signup, there's also no reason for us to add an authentication step. Now we need to design our form. I'll give it the title newsletter signup. The description appears beneath the title and will be visible to users. So I'll use "Thank you for signing up for our newsletter." Now we need to add our form elements, the options people will choose from. We'll get started by clicking Add Form Elements. I'll name the first field Email Address, set the next field to email, and enter example@gmail.com. Since people will need to submit their email address to sign up, I'll flip the button here to make this a required field. In other words, they need to fill out the section to submit the form. Let's add another layer of complexity. Let's assume we run a writer's workshop, and we offer different newsletters for copywriters, scriptwriters, technical writers, and novelists. We will need to click Add Form Elements, name it Occupation, and under Element Type, select Dropdown. I'll add my first occupation, Copywriters, click Add Field Option, and rinse and repeat until I have the 4 options ready to go. Next, we need to tell the workflow when to respond, so under Respond When, we'll select Form is Submitted. Under Options, we need to pick a button label and the form path. From the drop-down list, select Submit. For form path, copy and paste the production URL at the top of the page into the field here. Before we move on, we want to test this step. There are a few ways to do this, but for now, we'll stick with the manual method. Hit Execute step. That will open the form in another window, and we'll follow the sign-up process by adding an email address, selecting scriptwriter from the drop-down menu, and clicking Submit. Here we go. The data has been logged. Make sure to click the pin icon in the upper right to save this data before moving on. We'll use the data from this one form submission to test the entire workflow. Now, let's do something with our data by adding another node. Click Back to Canvas in the upper right corner. Click the plus icon in the workflow to add the next step. For this one, let's select Action in an App. There's a ton of options here, but we'll be creating a Google Sheet with all of our customers' contact information. Search for Google Sheets in the search bar, then click it. This is going to get a bit more complicated. For starters, we're going to need an actual Google Sheets. I'll create a simple 2-column chart, one for email address and another for occupation. We want to append a new row if this email is not already in the sheets, or update the existing row if it is, to avoid duplicate entries. So we'll select the first option, append, or update row in Sheets. Now, we need to connect Google Sheets to n8n by setting up a credential. In the first window, open the drop-down menu and select Create New Credential. All we need to do is click Sign in with Google. Select your account and give n8n Cloud access to all three options. Scroll down, select Continue, and you've set up your first credential. For now, that's all we'll do. Click Save in the upper right, and when that's done, exit out of that window. Under Resource, we'll want to select Sheet within Document rather than Document. If that sounds confusing, it isn't. Sheet within Document simply means the sheet we are connecting to this workflow already exists, and selecting Document would order n8n to create a new spreadsheet instead. For operation, we will select Append or Update Row. Now, you may wonder how the workflow knows whether to add a new row or update an existing one. Well, this operation uses a key column to determine what action it should take. We'll set that up in a moment. First, under Document, select the sheet's name, for example, n8n Workflow number 1 Google Sheet. From the drop-down menu, under Sheet, select Sheet 1. Easy enough. Okay, now we'll set the mapping column mode to map automatically so the workflow functions independently. Column to match on essentially tells the workflow which column in the sheet to scan to determine whether to add a new row or edit an existing one. We'll use email address. Important note, to have this process run automatically, the data field in the form and the column in Sheets must have the same name. Under Options, we're telling the workflow where to scan and where to add new data. Select Cell Format to get started, then switch it to Let n8n Format. Let's keep going. Click Add Option. Then select Data Location on Sheet. The header row should be 1, and the first data row should be 2. This tells the workflow that the first row contains the header names, and the data begins after that. So on rows 2, 3, 4, etc. All right, with this done, let's exit the node and click back to Canvas. Let's run another test. Click Execute Workflow. Fill out the form again, and then check the linked sheet. There we go. It looks like it worked. We also seem to have gotten a little more data than we bargained for, including the time it was submitted and the time of form. We can always head back to our first node and edit the output by changing the JavaScript, but that's too advanced for our first workflow. Feel free to expand this workflow by adding a welcome email, or better yet, set up a welcome sequence to keep new users engaged. But for now, let's move to a more advanced scenario, bringing AI into our workflow. Workflow 2, AI Calendar Assistant. The goal of this workflow is to build an AI calendar assistant that you can converse with in plain English, enable it to understand what you're saying, and permit it to use your Google Calendar to perform those tasks. Since this is more detailed, let's break it down step by step. Step number 1, choose your AI model, OpenAI or Google Gemini. n8n's AI nodes support multiple providers, and the most popular options are OpenAI's ChatGPT or Google Gemini. Let's talk about ChatGPT first. OpenAI's ChatGPT. To go this route, you need an OpenAI account with an active API key. OpenAI's API is not free. It's pay per use, even though there's a small initial credit. They charge by the token, which are words and punctuation marks. To go this route, you need to have billing enabled on OpenAI. We'll keep our prompts concise to minimize costs. For this workflow, GPT 4.1 is sufficient and more cost-effective. Google's AI, Gemini on Vertex AI. Google Cloud offers the Gemini models. I recommend going with the Gemini 2.5 Flash, which offers a good balance of speed, quality, and price. For simplicity, I'll use OpenAI in this example, but you can easily swap nodes and models in workflows without messing up other nodes. Back on n8n, click My Project to exit our first workflow. Click Create Workflow in the top right. Step 2. Add an AI agent. Hit Add First Step. Type AI agents into the search bar and select AI agents. We're using the agent node here because it allows the model to use other connected nodes as tools during the workflow. All right, leave everything as is on the screen and go back to Canvas. All right, so that will give us this screen here. We can start interacting with our agents by clicking the orange Open Chat button. While you can set up more advanced prompts, I recommend leaving it as is for now. Let's start bulking out our AI agents by giving it a model to run. Click the plus icon under Chat Model. Step number 3. Pick an AI. In the search bar, I'll type OpenAI and select OpenAI Chat Model. That will open up this window. Step number 4. Add a new credential. Before we can do anything, we need to link ChatGPT to n8n. To do this, you'll need an API key. Since I already have an OpenAI account, I made a key specifically for n8n. I'll copy and paste that key into the field right here and click Save. There we go. With that done, I'll also have to select the model. Step number 4. Pick a model. You'll want to double check the pricing before you make your decision, but I'll use 4.1 mini to save costs. Alright, click back to Canvas. Step number 5. Memory. This is where we essentially tell the agent what we want it to reference. So since we're going to chat with the assistant and have it schedule a meeting, we'll want it to remember the conversation at the start of the workflow. Click the plus icon under Memory. Since the task is straightforward, simple memory will be good enough. Click it. The first option, Connect Chat Trigger Node, means that when we chat with the bot to start the flow, the agent can access that conversation. Keep it as is. Do not mess with the session key section. As for the context window length, the number of previous chats the model can use as context, this is up to you. The more memories, the greater the agent's understanding will be, but they may also get confused. For now, I'll keep it at 5. Head back to Canvas. Step number 6. Link Google Calendar. This is the fun part. We'll give the AI agent a tool that interacts with Google Calendar. Click the plus icon under Tool. Type Google Cal into the search bar and select Google Calendar tool. You know the drill. Create a new credential by signing into your Google account, grant it access to all, and click Continue. Once that's done, exit that window. Step number 7. Enable the tool to schedule meetings. Leave the tool description to Set Automatically. Leave resources set to Event and Operation to Create. What all this means is that the tool will automatically set the meeting description based on the conversation and will look to schedule a meeting by creating a new event. Alright, under Calendar, leave the first option set to From Lists. Then select your email address from the drop-down menu. Now we need to set up dynamic scheduling. For example, let the AI schedule meetings autonomously. This is a bit tricky, so we want to click the 3 sparkling-looking icon button near Start. That enables the AI to run autonomously. Now we need to schedule the meeting properly. To do that, we need to give it a description of what we want it to do. Like with all LLMs, the more detailed and specific a prompt, the better result you will get. I'll use the following. Schedule the meeting at the time and date referenced in the initial conversation. If no specific date or time was given, schedule the meeting at the earliest available time on my calendar. We will also need to let the AI decide when the meeting ends. Since most of mine run 30 minutes, that's what we'll order it to do. I'll use the following. Whenever the meeting begins, end the event after 30 minutes and remove it from my calendar unless I instruct you otherwise. Alright, let's head back to Canvas. It's time for the moment of truth. Time to message the agent, so I'll open chat. I'll tell it this. I have a meeting with Ryan this Friday at 1:30 EST. Schedule it in my calendar. According to the bot, everything worked. Let's take a look at my calendar and see. There we go. Excellent. Now that we've got an AI that can manage calendar events, let's build another AI workflow. In Workflow 3, we'll use AI to generate and manage to-do lists with structured outputs. Workflow 3, plain English to JSON conversion. For this workflow, suppose we want an AI to take a sentence and transform it into structured data, for example, JSON, that the model and other programs can easily parse. Head back to My Project and click Create Workflow. Once again, let's go step by step. Step number 1, select AI agents. Click the plus icon. Type AI agents, then click it. Flip the switch under Require Specific Output Format. This will be important later. We also need to add prompts so the AI can understand its tasks. Click Add option at the bottom and select System Message. This message will tell the agent what its task is and how to act. Think of it as its programming. I'll give the following prompts. You are a task generator AI. You will create a list of tasks with specific fields. Task name, description, due date, priority. Output the results in JSON format only. Once you're done, click back to Canvas. Step number 2, link OpenAI's chat model. We did this in the previous section, so I'm not going to cover it again here. You got this. Step number 3, simple memory. Once again, we'll have the bot use our chat message as a starting point and have it reference only 5 past messages. Step number 4, output parser. Now, this one can be a bit difficult to set up. Double-click it to open it. All right, now we have to create a format that the agent can replicate every day for our tasks. If you don't know JavaScript, don't worry. Head on over to ChatGPT and give it the following prompts. Create a JSON schema with these parameters: task name, description, due date, and priority. Ensure it can parse multiple entries. Copy its reply, back on n8n, switch the schema type to define using JSON schema. Delete what's there, and paste in what ChatGPT wrote for you. With that done, exit back to Canvas. Okay, let's see if this works. I'll open the chat and give the AI the following prompts. Generate my tasks for today in JSON. Finish project report. Prepare slides for a meeting on 10/16. Attend meeting with George. Excellent, it works. Now, I hear you asking, why would I want to turn perfectly good English into JavaScript nonsense? Because you can easily link the output to other apps and convert it into something more digestible. For example, my team uses ClickUp as our project management software. Right now, we manually assign tasks. This can get time-consuming and troublesome, and it doesn't account for all the variables that will inevitably throw my timetable off. Instead of messaging me to adjust a due date, what if a team member could just tell their AI agents, I am sick, so we'll need to push back the n8n tutorial scripting phase one day, update my tasks and the project due date accordingly. Well, then everything gets done for them and for me. In short, knowing how to transform data quickly, easily, and automatically between different formats will make your life in and out of n8n much easier. So far, however, all of our workflows have been fully automated or AI-driven, but sometimes you need to go hands-on. In Workflow 4, we'll learn how to do just that and incorporate a human-in-the-loop approval step. Workflow 4, human-in-the-loop approvals. In this workflow, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a Discord moderator. We have a list of AI-generated ban responses that require human approval before they can be sent. We need to create a workflow that automatically handles the first part of the process. For example, identifies the user, offense alleged, and writes a ban message. Notifies a human of said message, approve yes or no, and completes the process once the review is complete. For example, sends it to the recipients. Step number 1, trigger and data. Our community has 2 tiers of administrators. One group, the moderators, handles day-to-day tasks on the server itself, and another, the administrators, ensures everything runs smoothly on the backend. We have a Google Sheet containing all banned users that is regularly updated. This is where we'll pull our data from, so click the plus icon, type in Google Sheets, and click it. Our trigger will be on row added. We're only interested in setting up the initial process here. Step 2, give it a credential. Since we're using a sheet as a trigger, we need to sign in to our Google account and grant n8n access to our data again. There we go. Exit out of this window. Step number 3, polling time. Tell the automation how often it should trigger. In other words, how often should it scan the sheets? Since we have a large community, I'll have it scan every minute. Step number 4, link documents and sheets. We've done this before. Link the proper document and sheet to the row. When you're done, click back to Canvas. Step number 5, create a draft. We want the workflow to draft the ban message before sending the request for approval. To do that, we'll need to find Gmail and select create a draft. We already have a credential set up, so there's nothing to worry about there. The operation will already be set to create, so leave it as is. For the subject, I'll use banned from GV Marketing. The email type here isn't super relevant. HTML is only needed for emails with embedded images, videos, or files, and this simple ban message will be text only. For this email, I'll go ahead and select text. Okay, now it's time to write our email. We want it to be dynamic. In other words, we want all the data from our Google Sheets to be automatically pulled into this message. Luckily, that's much easier than it sounds with n8n. Look to the left, and you should see the inputs fetched from Google Sheets. All we need to do is drag and drop these where they belong. For example, I'll type hi, then drag the email address into the next spot before adding a comma at the end. I'll start the next paragraph with on, then drag the date input in. Okay, so the message reads, on dates, your Discord accounts. Now I'll drag the username input into the field and keep typing out my message. Was flagged for, and I'll drag in the offense. Now I'll finish the message. With all the inputs in their proper place, the final message looks like this. Hi, hello@vlasiv.com. On 10/15/2025, your Discord account, Vlas, was flagged for hateful content. For violating our community guidelines, you have been permanently banned from our server. You may not appeal this decision. Thank you. GB Marketing Moderation Team. All right, there we go. Now let's test this out by hitting execute step. Okay, let's look at the output. Our draft and the message within have both been given their own unique IDs, and the final line in JSON is draft. It worked. Let's move on and involve our human moderator. Step number 6, notify human. This is going to get a bit complicated. We'll click the plus icon, find Gmail, and we'll select the last option under message actions, send message, and wait for response. Okay, our credentials are already set up, and we just set up the resource and operation parameters. Let's move on. Since this message has to go to our moderators, I'll put my test email address in the to field. The subject will be something like approval required. The message can be simple too. I'll go with the mod team took action, please confirm their decision. Response time is already set to approval, but let's tweak our approval options. Select the first drop-down menu and enable approve and disapprove. You can leave the rest of the settings as is. At this point, when an incident is added to the Google Sheets, the workflow will detect it and draft a message. That message will be stored as a draft until our human administrator confirms the action is justified. Let's run a quick test before we move on. Hit execute step. Once you do that, go ahead and check your inbox. There it is. Everything looks right. Now, if we were actually building a proper professional moderation pipeline, we'd definitely want more data and include either a screenshot or a chat log of the offense for confirmation in the email to the administrator. For now, however, this will suffice. Click approve, then head back to n8n. Since everything worked, click back to Canvas and let's keep going. Step 7, adding an if split. Since we don't want to just rubber stamp the moderator's decision, we made it possible to approve or decline a ban requests. Since there are 2 possible outcomes, we need to use the if node to build 2 separate branches. What to do if the request is granted or denied. Press the plus icon, search if, and double-click the top option. We'll return to this later, leave it as is for now. Step number 8, fetch the draft. Now that our administrator has approved the mod team's action, we need to retrieve the draft generated earlier by the automation. To do that, click the plus icon, find Gmail, and under draft actions, select get a draft. Most of the settings here are good to go. The only one we need to worry about is draft ID. In short, we'll enter the draft's n8n ID here so it can be fetched each time the workflow runs. Don't worry, the dynamic information will update each time. Okay, to find the draft ID, look over at the input section. Expand the create a draft step and copy and paste the first ID number. It should begin with an R into the field. That's all we have to do here. Next, let's finalize the branch. Step number 9, sending the message. Okay, click the plus icon, find Gmail, and select send a message. All right, that'll open up this window. We only need to worry about a single input here. Get a draft. Expand it. Okay, this looks scary, but it's actually pretty easy. All we need to do is drag and drop the correct inputs into the to, subject, and message lines. For the to section, look under form down here. Do you see the T address? This is a bit confusing, but from actually indicates who this was sent to since it was saved as a draft. The rest is much easier. Look under headers, find subject, and drag and drop it into the subject field. Under headers, you will see 2 versions of the email's message, text and text as HTML. Make sure to drag and drop text into the message section. Otherwise, the formatting will get messed up. All right, that should be it. Let's head back to our workflow and run it. Time for the moment of truth. Execute workflow. I'll head on over to my inbox and approve the decision. I'll refresh my inbox, and there's the banned message. It is formatted correctly. Everything seems to be working as intended. All that's left to do now is to tell the workflow what to do when the request is denied. Step number 10, send a message to the moderator. Now, if I disapprove of the ban, I'll want to talk with the moderator. That way we can discuss the situation and decide what to do next. I want to message them in Slack, since that's what the team uses to communicate. So I'll click the plus icon next to false, search for Slack, double-click it, and select send a message. Since I haven't used Slack yet, I have to go through the credential process again, logging into Slack, permitting it to send messages to me and my team members. All right, here we are. Resource and operations should be set correctly by default, so there's nothing to do here. Now I have to decide who or where the message should be sent, to an individual moderator or to a group chat with all moderators. I'll go with an individual user to keep things simple. Select them from list and go with our project manager, Milan. The message type will be a simple text message that reads, "Hey, can we have a quick chat about a recent ban? Thanks." That's only half the battle though. Let's head on back to the canvas and open up the if node. So if the administrator approves the request, we want the workflow to play out as we've already seen. If not, we want it to be able to send Milan a message. Here's how we do it. For the first conditions box, look over to input. Grab and drag the approved box into the field. Open the drop-down menu in the middle here. And the condition we're going to use is string is equal to. In the second and last conditions field, type true. So what does this mean? It means that if the input is true, it will be sent to the true branch. If it is not equal to true, when we deny the action, it will be recognized as false and sent to the false branch. Oh, and I almost forgot. Make sure to flip on the Convert Types Where Required button. Let's see this in action. I'll execute workflow, open my inbox, and approve the action. As we can see, the workflow followed the true branch. Let's make sure it follows the false branch too. I'll click Execute Workflow again, and then hit Decline. The workflow looks right, and there's my message to Milan. All right, now that you understand how to build a human-in-the-loop workflow, let's briefly talk about a few debugging and optimization tips before calling it a day. Now, when I was writing the script for this episode and building my automations from scratch, I can't even tell you how many times I ran into a snag, used the wrong JavaScript, or got an error message. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. In this section, we're talking about a couple of the ways you can diagnose and learn from your mistakes. Debugging tools. Although I didn't use it in this tutorial, the executions panel was the tool I used most. As you can see, I have my fourth workflow open, and in the top middle, I'll select executions. What this lets you do is inspect each node every time the workflow runs. You can look through each node, check its input and output data, and quickly catch any errors in the n8n flags. Pin data. In the first workflow, we introduced data pinning, an awesome way to test subparts of a flow without re-triggering the entire flow. Use pinning and the manual execute button on individual nodes to make sure one step is working before chaining it. Manually test individual nodes. Don't be afraid to test each node individually to make sure it's working. In our final example, I did this several times. It's best to identify a problem early on and fix it, rather than trying to retrace your steps after spending an hour building the rest of the workflow. I'm speaking from experience. Optimizing prompts and agents. If your AI agent's output is jumbled or nonsensical, refine the instructions. If the workflow works properly but the final product doesn't make sense, the issue lies in the initial prompting. Ask n8n's built-in AI. No AI assistant is ever perfect. But when I couldn't get the if node configured properly in the fourth workflow, I chatted with it back and forth for about 20 minutes until I finally understood what was going on. It was surprisingly thoughtful and creative in its explanations. It also scours the community forum and helps censor when crafting its answers. So let it do the heavy lifting for you. The error trigger node. We used 3 different triggers to start our workflows, but there's one we didn't use that I have to mention. The error trigger. If one of your workflows keeps breaking and you can't seem to debug using everything we've talked about so far, create a new workflow starting with the error trigger and link that workflow to the one that's having issues. Once your new workflow detects an error, it will collect a bunch of data that you can then analyze with the help of n8n's AI. To make data collection easier, you can always connect the error trigger node to a Gmail, Slack, or Discord node and receive a message with all the relevant information. Debugging can be frustrating, but stick with it. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this video. By now, you should feel confident navigating n8n and accessing its massive template gallery. You've also got hands-on experience creating several different types of workflows with and without AI agents, as well as easily incorporating third-party apps and LLMs into your automations. I hope this tutorial has made you feel confident about building and automating your ideas with n8n. Now, it's your turn. Go and create workflows that save time, reduce errors, and do the things you didn't know were possible. And remember, if you found this tutorial helpful and you would like to support us, you can check out the links in the description for best deals. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.